I didn't let myself blink as the hospital security guard tapped on my car window that night. My daughter wheezed beside me, curled in her thin blanket, her breath rattling like a dying machine. The guard's flashlight cut straight through me, but I kept my tone level. "I'm not leaving," I said. "She can't breathe." But he didn't care. No one did. Not my parents, who banished me. Not my ex, who stole everything. Not the world, which had grown comfortable watching me choke on its indifference. That was the night I realized I wasn't meant to beg. I was meant to return. I wasn't always the woman people whispered about. Once I had hope, a family that smiled for pictures, a father whose approval felt like sunlight, a mother who braided my hair as if love were woven through the strands. And him, the man I believed was my future, until he became the hand that shoved me off the edge. Back then, we were the couple everyone rooted for. His ambition, my discipline, our daughter arriving like the punctuation mark to the life we were building. But power is a slow poison. He drank it greedily. I noticed the shift first in his eyes, blanker, colder. Then the late nights. Then the missing money. Then the documents with my forged signature. But the message on his phone was the final blow. She won't fight back. She never does. He didn't know me at all. The night I learned the truth, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I watched him sleep while I packed. I carried my daughter out the door and into our rusting car. I left behind everything except the quiet promise pulsing through my thoughts. I'll return what you gave me, with interest. Months scraped by, cruel and slow. Shelters, parking lots, my daughter's fever rising, my world shrinking. Survival tasted like metal and humiliation. And then fate, bizarre, sharp-edged, and perfectly timed, returned a debt I'd forgotten. A lawyer found me outside a pharmacy at dawn. "Are you Ava Reyes?" he asked. I stiffened. "Depends on who's asking." "I represent Adrian Vale." My breath stilled. Adrian Vale, the billionaire whose life I'd saved 8 years ago when a collapsed stage crushed part of his gala. I didn't know he remembered my name. "He's gone," the lawyer said softly, "and he left everything to you. Everything. Not a donation, not a reward, his entire empire. And one thing more, sealed in an envelope he instructed be given to me alone. A file, a name on the tab, my ex's, a list of crimes, proof, motive, numbers, offshore accounts, contracts signed in his handwriting, witnesses bribed, assets hidden, fraud, exploitation, and one crime that could never be forgiven." I didn't shake. I didn't smile. I simply whispered, "Good." Revenge isn't rage. It's geometry, lines, angles, pressure points. I spent the next months learning Adrian's empire. Every department, every executive, every weakness. I spoke little, observed much. I moved with quiet authority, the kind that makes powerful men sweat without knowing why. I hired forensic accountants, lawyers built like glaciers, slow, silent, inevitable. I fed them the file piece by piece, keeping the most damning evidence for myself. Meanwhile, I let my ex believe I was still broken. He thought I was living in a car. He thought I was one breath away from giving up. I let him. Then I bought the bank that held his debts. I bought the company that contracted his failing firm. I acquired the building where his office sat. One signature at a time, I dismantled him. I wanted him conscious when the collapse began. I wanted him awake. The confrontation came in the boardroom he once bragged he'd own someday. He entered with that confident stride, the one that used to charm me. He froze when he saw me at the head of the table, sleeves rolled, posture steady. "Ava?" His voice cracked. What are you doing here?" I slid the thick folder across the table. "I'm giving you a choice," I said. "Walk out with dignity, or be escorted out in cuffs." He laughed at first. Then the laughing stopped as he read, page after page, his face draining of color, his pupils shrinking, his fingers trembling. This isn't real." "It's real," I said. "All of it." He looked up at me, eyes wide with the terror of a man who finally understands the weight of consequences. "You did this to me." "No," I said. "You did this to yourself. I just turned on the lights." The officers arrived 3 minutes later. He begged, he cried, he called me heartless. I simply watched, calm as a tide. My daughter slept in my arms, her breathing steady now, healthy, safe, warm. This was the end of him, the beginning of us. People call it revenge. I call it correction. And as I walked out of that boardroom, I didn't feel triumph, just relief. Some stories don't need happy endings. They just need justice.